Tonight on another episode of Breaking Reality. Tonight we have Miss Judie with us tonight, and we are going to be discussing spiritual cleansing and the importance of spiritual cleansing. Judie, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into this conversation. Just tell us a little bit what you do, and you got a whole crew that works with you too.
How you doing, everybody? So they call me Miss Judie. I am the owner of Readings by Judie. It's my life's work. I've been doing readings and spiritual work for over 40 years. And
Let people know
so
what
this is kind of the
let people know what
donation
readings
here.
are.
Readings are, well, there's several different types of readings. Readings are really a look into your life, things that you might need help with, future, past, sometimes people that have passed away. Um, Reading can be many, many things. And there are so many types of different readings. We have tarot, oracle, divination. There's many tools, and sometimes you don't use any tools.
Excellent. Because, yeah, just a lot of people don't necessarily know what readings are. So I just want to make sure that as we're going through the show tonight, if anyone is interested in getting in touch with you, I'm going to get your uh, website information. I pulled a blank there.
Okay.
This has been a long day,
Sure.
folks.
It has on both ends.
I will get your website information up, and I will post it into the chat, and it will also be posted in the description below on the YouTube channel when this goes up on YouTube. That way, if anyone wants to get in contact with Judie about anything that she does or any of the work that she's talked about, you guys will have a way to get in touch with her. So I did interrupt you talking about your stuff there. I just wanted to touch on the readings
It's
so
okay.
people knew what they were. Um, so, um, just if you got anything more you want to tell us about the work that you do, or we can just dive into talking about spiritual reading or spiritual cleansings.
Hey, let's dive in. Why not?
Hey, that's always the fun way to do it.
I do so much different stuff. So yeah, whatever anybody wants to talk about, I'm open to it. Whatever you guys want to talk about.
So yeah, let's
I know we're
go.
here for spiritual cleansing, but it's so much.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about the spiritual cleansing. When you talk about a spiritual cleansing, um, what exactly are you talking about when it comes to that? So people know what a spiritual cleansing is, and then we can go into the reasons why people might need a spiritual cleansing.
Okay. A spiritual cleansing is really clearing your entire spirit, your being, every fiber of who you are, because that is your spirit is you. You are your spirit, and throughout life, throughout situations, and different people that you come across, different places you go, um, even items sometimes that you touch, you can pick up energy, and you can pick up negative things, and it starts weighing you down. I mean, the older you are and the more things that you've been through in your life, and everybody, it's like a bath, like a spiritual bath. It's a cleaner. It cleans you from the hurt, the mind, emotional trauma. It starts to clear that, or it does clear it, whatever you allow it to do.
Okay, so like, what are some different reasons why people would actually just need to get a cleansing like it, and how would someone know if they need to get a cleansing?
That's a great question, because most people, they don't realize that, sometimes, how you get stuck in life, like it's like you're stagnant and you can't make, and nothing's working out for you. That's a really great time. That's a really, like, hello, something has got to be moved around here. Something has got to change. And a lot of times it's because you have a lot of blockage, a lot of things in your way, which could be unseen. And that's a really great time to get a cleansing. Um, Reasons that you would need one, like I just said, like when you become stagnant in your life, um, if you've gone through a lot of emotional trauma, that it really helps with that. Like I've seen it do wonders. We've never had a bad cleansing ever. Um, Matter of fact, I don't know if you guys can see, we just cleansed Matt Barnes from the LA Lakers last year.
Yeah, very
And
nice.
yeah, a
Hey,
lot of
you've
great
worked
things.
with a few different celebrities.
Yes. Yep, I've worked with many different people and celebrities, and yeah, it's been really nice to watch what we do help and change people. And that's why usually somebody that we cleanse is usually a lifelong person that always comes back around. And so we get to watch the progression of the way things go.
Right. You get invested into that person's life on one level or another.
Absolutely. Hmm.
All right. So, what's a spiritual cleansing look like? I mean, like when you do this, like what can someone expect? I mean, for me, I've done certain cleansings and stuff as well within my shamanic traditions and some stuff along Native
Hmm.
American lines using things like um, sweetgrass, sage, Palo Santo, things along those lines. So when
Hmm.
you do a cleansing, I know you guys do a lot more than just that.
Right. We also stick to an indigenous tradition. Um, we're earth-based people, and we use our main thing is hape. And a lot of people don't know what hape is. Hape is an indigenous snuff administered through the nose with what you call a tepi. My husband does that, and I administer what's called Sananga. Sananga is an indigenous eye drop made from the root of a tree, and it's an amazing beginning of a cleansing. It starts clearing out the spiritual muck, and then of course you administer the Hapei, and that just really it flushes through the body like you know. My belief and what I've seen is that makes anything negative entities or even somebody who has like a root work kind of issue going on, somebody's done some type of root work to them, it runs that completely out,
Okay.
and they're left sometimes they're left like an empty shell to fill that void now with positivity.
Right. It just kind of takes out all that muck and kind of clears it out so that they've got that open space to bring in that
Right.
positive energy.
Hmm.
I I honestly I know about both of those um items that you use, or sacraments, if you want to call them that,
Hmm.
or whatever terminology you want to use with them. I personally have never got to experience either one as of yet. I know a
Oh,
lot of
wow.
people who have. It's just
Hmm.
in the circles that I've been in so far, that's not something that I've actually got that experience with.
Wow. We have like for our Hapei, we have not just one Hapei. We have right now we have seven.
Oh yeah,
Um,
and I've
that
seen.
yeah, they do different things.
Right. It's like, any kind of herbal medicine or plant medicines. There might be several variants of these kinds,
Yes.
or several strains, or whatever, if you want to use that terminology as well. And each one has its own
Hmm.
benefits and uses and such. Um,
Hmm.
you want to go in and talking about some of that a little bit so people just kind of understand it and um
Well, sure. Yeah. You mean the different types of Hapei?
Yeah, and just, I mean, when you say snuff, there's probably some people that don't quite understand what you're talking about either.
I mean, I can grab my tray and bring it over it and show
Absolutely,
people if you
if you
want me
want
to.
to. I mean, it's something that we
Sure.
can definitely show on
Give
stream.
me 1 second. Sorry.
It's okay.
I probably should have had that already out, but this is our hape tray. This is this is a double tepi. My husband uses to administer. This is a single tepi.
All right.
And this goes in the nose here. And blow like that, blow through.
Right. And this is very, very old school, ancient shamanic medicines right here. This is administered by curanderos and shamans and stuff all over North and South America.
This hape here is called the Tree of Life. I don't really want to take any out because we have such a small vial. But whoops, there we go.
Yeah, you can see it's more a powder, right?
It is a very finely ground powder. Here's another.
Okay, I can see that there.
Yep. Like I said, we have many different kinds, and we have one of the strongest hapes that I know about. It's called the Bullet, and all of our hapes are made by the Yawanawa tribe in Peru.
Okay. Now isn't hape traditionally from Peru? Isn't that where it originated, if I understand right? And the same with the eye drops that you talked about.
Sananga, yes,
Yeah,
that's
Sananga.
correct.
And then it kind of migrated out of there through a lot of the different tribes and traditions and stuff, and a lot of different cultures that now have used it throughout North and South America.
Correct. And now there's, I mean, we like the one tribe that we're dealing with, but we have at different times dealt with the Shipibo tribe as well. But there's many different tribes now that make the hapes and the sanangas, even in Brazil, all over the South America.
Right, and folks who have turned into the stream know that I work with ayahuasca as one of my sacred sacraments, and it's something that I work with, and I've heard that a lot of tribes, if you do go down to Peru to do aya ceremonies with the curanderos, that a lot of them will administer the hape, or what was the name of the eye drops? I always get it wrong.
Sananga.
That they'll administer that in days leading up to help clear you out for the ceremony.
Yes. You know, it's all throughout my life, things have just fallen into place. And then I later find out that that's how it really is done. And people think I already know ahead of time, just like the Sananga and the hape. That kind of fell into my lap, and I just knew what it was for before I was ever told what it was for, and I was right. But I mean, it all works out. Now we're talking years later, and
right, and that's one of those things where a lot of times I personally throw that up and give credit to Spirit for bringing that information to you about these items before you're even introduced to them.
It's true.
It's like true. Some of the first times that I really started using plant medicines, there's people that were using these things for party substances and to have fun and do things, and I couldn't get behind that. But the moment that I saw them from a sacramental standpoint, I knew, and I knew the way to work with them. And it's one of those things that a lot of times, I've had guides sit with me. I've had people, give me some points and tips and stuff as far as the way to work with these plant medicines, but most of it was just innately known from spirit.
Yes. I feel like yourself with the Aya and myself with the way that we do things here. I feel like, it was our path,
Yes.
and that's why it's so natural to us. That's why
Right.
it feels right, and you just know what to do with it.
Right.
I mean, I believe in that through everything in my life anyway.
Well, part of mine came from some early experiences though too. I did have a couple of teachers with some Native Americans and stuff who introduced me to um some of the sacraments early on, and also like I learned all about working with the sacred pipe early on, and sitting in circles with the pipe. I was extremely blessed at the age of 15 years old to be able to participate in some sweat lodges, which was actually my kind of my rite of passage in coming into this. Looking back, I just thought, oh hey, I'm 15 years old. This is a really cool experience I'm going to get to have. I'm going to get to hang out with these guys. And I was a counselor, or I was a weekend manager at 15 years old at a 350 acre campgrounds, and we had all nations Native American gatherings that came there, and so we had these all nations gatherings that would come there, and they would stay for like a week, and I would go out there and live on the campgrounds for that time and I wasn't the only one out there. There was other staff. There was, other adult staff and stuff out there with a lot of things as well. But I was on equal footing with them as far as our roles and what we done. And a couple of these guys and from some of the tribes pulled me in and said, "Hey, we want to teach you ceremony. We want to take you and show you the sweat lodge." And I got blessed to be able to do that early on, and it was such an amazing experience, and that in and of itself is an extreme spiritual cleansing. It's a powerful one. I don't know if you've ever got to experience a sweat lodge.
Not yet. I've been trying to get into a sweat lodge, and I always am out of town every time it's held here locally.
Okay, I was going to say, I might be able to get something arranged up here if you and your crew ever want to come up to Ohio and try to experience something up here in this area.
Wherever we have to travel, we travel all over the place anyway. We'd love to.
I know some people who hold sweats on their property, so if let me reach out to them here. We'll try to make something happen here before too long. And see if we can't get something done, because it's been a while since I've been in a lodge, and I tell you what, I quite enjoy it.
Okay, it's probably time for you, and it's definitely past time for me. I'm ready.
But
that'd be really great.
I would have to say personally that was my first experience with a spiritual cleansing, was a sweat lodge. And it was
because that I've never have yet, but I've done many other types of cleansings. And we also have, sometimes people come to us and they've cleansed before and they are starting to feel that stuck feeling again, or something has been done to them or whatever that they know about. And so we have a cleanse in a bottle that is prepared by a lady that she makes them for me. Those things are amazing. Completely amazing. I have some of the best bottle cleanses that I've ever had before.
Now, are those things that people could get through the website if they wanted to reach out to you to order something like that, to get something like that off you? Because I know you offer some other stuff. Like I actually saw earlier today that you had some white sage up there for sale, which is a powerful cleansing tool.
Yes, I have white sage with rue. You know, rue is good for many things, but it's also a good thing to bring in money.
And
The rue plant.
now,
Um,
is it Syrian rue or just rue?
rue to rue.
Okay. When you said rue, I was wondering if it was part of the Syrian rue plant because I use Syrian rue seeds in a lot of my ceremonies.
Hmm. You know, I'll have to ask the lady that rolls them for me. I'm not really. I just know it's white sage and rue to rue.
Okay, because I'm honestly not familiar with rue to rue or you know what it is. That's something I'm.
Really, like I actually burned some today, and it's a very almost like a spicy scent.
Huh. Because I've seen
Mm-hmm.
because I actually meant to ask you about that earlier today, but like I said, I got so busy I didn't get much time to connect
Mm-hmm.
to you until right before we went live. We connected for a few minutes, but
Right.
we were both pretty busy throughout the day. Because I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to ask you about that. Because a lot of times when I see sage, it's like if it's blended and mixed, oh, those are beautiful little smudges. Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
that one, and of course we have the dragon blood resin sage.
Oh, nice.
And this here, oh my gosh. If you think sage is powerful, the sage with the resin on it is it's very it's amazing.
Now I've had some dragon's blood incense, but I have never had it mixed with
Mm-hmm.
white sage. I bet that is absolutely amazing, and I bet the smell that comes off of that is just gorgeous. Because
It is.
I love white sage, and I tell you what, I will take white sage and pack it into my pipe and smoke just straight white sage as well. It's very cleansing to
Mm-hmm.
your lungs and stuff, and it's very good for. Um, so when we talk about cleansings, this is one of the things I just want to touch on about sage. it's it's great for spiritual cleansing, but it also cleanses the air too. It,
True. That's true.
yeah, people don't.
Yeah, bacteria wise,
Yes,
yeah.
it clears the majority of bacteria that will be in the air. So it is just on its own, it's a good thing to just burn in your house to clear it out every so often. You know, you hear people talking about
Mm-hmm.
doing a spring cleaning. Throw that into your rotation.
Yes, that's right. You know, the one thing people do forget though, and I found this regularly, people forget to allow the air to go out after you've smudged.
Mm-hmm.
You have to open up those doors, open up those windows, get a feather or something to move that air around and let it go out. To take either the bacteria in the air, the germs, or the negative, whatever it's taking out negatively, you have to let that go. You have to
Right,
let it out.
right,
And a lot of people forget to do that.
right. It's got to go somewhere, and while there is some of the alchemical exchange with using these items to cleanse and stuff, they'll start to transmute some of that negative energy. A big part of what it does is it just chases it away,
Mm-hmm.
and so it
Yep.
needs.
And you know, well, you know what I've found, and I tell people this a lot too. Um, before you sage your house, stand in the middle of your main living area where you know you have guests and visitors and stuff. Just put your hands up, close your eyes, and feel it. And then once you're done with your sage or your smudging, do the same thing. Do the same thing. Stand in the middle of your room, put your hands up, and feel that, and you can actually feel the difference.
Oh, I I actually talked about this experience on one of the shows not too long ago. I had a friend that just it more of an acquaintance, not really close with this lady, but it was a few weeks back, probably more towards the beginning of February. Um, her car broke
Mm,
down close to my house, and so she walked to here, knocked on my door, asked if she could come in. She, you know, she wanted to get warm. She needed to make a call and get a hold of some people to come help her with her car. And of course I told her, come on in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to have someone stand out in, single digit
Right.
weather and freeze and stuff. So, I told her to come on in. But the moment she walked into the house, there was just this wave of negativity that was on her. And why she was in here talking, everything she said was just negative. She was complaining about everything in her life, everything that had went wrong, everything that was going bad. There wasn't one positive word out of her mouth while she was here. And when she left, the first thing I done was I grabbed my sage and I grabbed my Palo Santo and I went through the whole house.
Yep. Yeah, I have one of my readers. She first started coming to me as a client before she became my reader. She used to take her stick every morning. This is Palo Santo, by the way.
Yes.
And she still does it to this day. And she just around herself every morning and just let it go, let the smoke go in your hands and under your feet. And
not a bad practice.
She swears by that.
Not a bad practice. I mean, in a lot of the ceremonies that I have done involving indigenous people, we use something like either sage or Palo Santo before we go into ceremony to cleanse ourselves. And we get right into that thick of that smoke. We get into it big time. It's we'll bring it right into our face. We'll fan it right into our face, over our head, around us, head to toe.
Well, last year, I think it was beginning of last year. You ever saw one of those portable closets? You can like buy it as a fabric on the outside and it zips up.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
We had one of those on my back porch with a chair in it, and we called it a smudge box. And if somebody walked in here to get a cleansing and you just felt that heaviness about them, that's the first place we'd take them. And we'd put a pan of white sage under the chair, light it, zip that curtain down, and they would sit in there and off. But they'd come out and they'd be like, wow, oh my gosh, I feel so great. Like I feel so much lighter.
I can only imagine how much crap that clears out of their lungs sitting in there breathing that as well. I bet they were breathing better after they came out of there.
Yes.
And
then of course we bring them in the office and blow stuff up their nose.
Well, you got to clear it out before you put it in.
That's right. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people don't understand, like, when you everybody's like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid to do this. I'm afraid to do this. Well, you should be afraid of living with all this heaviness on a day-to-day. You're going to be at my home for less than 2 hours. Yeah, you might throw up. You might have a temper fit, because a lot of people do that when, you hit them with the hape. But when you leave here, you're going to be wiped out, but tomorrow you're going to feel like a brand new person.
So what does someone experience with the hape? Does it have a stimulating effect? Does it, how does it affect a person physically when they take it? Because spiritually, that's a whole different level. That's something that someone just really has to experience. But but on a physical level, if someone's going to consider going into this, what should they expect from the hape?
Well, I tell everybody, do not eat or drink 2 hours before. Most of the time, you do purge. That's, you have to let it out some kind of way.
Right.
You sweat. A lot of people, the first thing they do when you hit them, it doesn't matter what hape we use, they grab their head and they scream, ah! And it's not because it hurts, it's just because it's that initial blowing of snuff into the nasal cavity,
right?
And they're not used to that,
right? So just something going up the sinuses.
Right.
Ever go swimming and get some water up your sinus cavity, it burns.
Oh yes, and that's it. It does, it burns. And then after that, it's like most people rock back and forth. And of course, then we start our energy cleanse while they're in the hape. We work energy.
Okay.
In the hands, we'll pray over them. I have like different sprays that I use. We use like different tools. And I have this is my spirit broom. I know it looks like a regular broom, and it is. But when a person is finished cleansing, that broom stands up by itself.
Oh, nice.
I mean, you could put it up, you could try to make it stand by itself beforehand, and it's going to fall every time. But when a person is clear, my broom lets me know.
That's a neat little thing there too, and I do want to tell people that a lot of times tools that people will use are very mundane items that can end up having a very powerful usage when channeled right.
Yep. One of my cleanses a few months back, I took my broom and Spirit was just telling me, wipe the feet, wipe the feet. So I took the broom and I was wiping the bottom of the person's feet with the broom. And she said that she felt like I was just removing so much stuff off of her with that. And that it felt really great. She just felt like so much trauma and emotions were being swept away off of her feet.
Right, because some of these things, just even like you said, to act like you were sweeping it away, it has an effect of it. It's the
right.
Trying to think of the right word to use for this. I can't really come up with the right word to use right now. But some of the actions, it's like the semantics that we go through have a purpose behind them that symbolize some of the things that are going on a spiritual level.
Right. And my broom was made by somebody in New Orleans that's an older man, and he blesses everything. He's in the swamps, and he's very connected.
Right.
He
So
made the
this
broom
just
for
isn't
me.
a broom that you went down to, Walmart
No.
or Target or something and picked
No.
up like that. It
No.
was made with purpose.
Right. Yep. And when I got the broom, it's been almost 2 years now. It's just like I just knew that it was something special. And now nobody can touch it. Don't touch you can touch anything else. Don't touch my broom.
Touch the broom, you're getting a beating.
That's right. That's right.
Maybe with the broom.
That's correct. That could happen. That's a real thing. Yeah, I use so many different tools. I mean, and this might gross people out, but I mean, and these are another tool. Chicken feet.
Ah, okay. I couldn't tell what they were at first.
And then, this one isn't finished, but we paint them, and they're used for protection as, like a lot of people like to use them. Okay, so a very famous psychic, that is my mentor, gave my husband a badger claw, like a real badger claw, and it's just like the chicken foot. And she said, if you ever feel scared, or you feel like you're being spiritually attacked, or you have a situation going on and you just want to close your eyes and get out of it, take your badger claw or your chicken foot, and you like scratch away at the surface to get your way out of there.
Right.
It's a lot of it is here.
Yeah.
But if that's how you're feeling and it helps you, and make that work. And of course, everything that we do is not just here, it's here. It's here.
Right.
It's who you become.
Right. It's that energetic field that is projected into it from the head to the heart to everything else. And, right. It's just like, it just runs through the whole being. And these items, for lack of a better word, is talismans. that
Yes.
that can be very powerful, and you see talismans used
Yes.
all around the world in every single culture by the indigenous folks for different reasons.
Mhm.
You know,
Yep, it's true. And people will walk in here and they'll see the bag of chicken feed or different stuff that I have, and they'll go, "Whoa!" I go, "If it's not for you, it's not for you, and it's okay." Um,
you're down in the
but at
deep
the
south
same
too,
time,
so I can only imagine the first thing that goes through a lot of people's minds is what kind of crazy voodoo am I getting into?
right, right. Well, I'm earth based. I'm not religion based. But I work with all religions.
Right.
Um, yeah, but
There is
I
truth to be found in every single one. You dive into it. There, and I was having this conversation with someone else today. We was talking about the exact same thing. This is a conversation that constantly repeats in my life with people. Is in is as long as it is done from a point of love and a point
yes,
of sacredness, and it's not
integrity.
yeah, and it's not done in a way to harm or hurt other people. I have not
Right.
seen any spiritual practice that doesn't lead towards the same source in one way, shape, or another. And
Mm-hmm.
we can get into that discussion if someone wants to get into it. I have no problems diving into that. The other day I was talking with went through and watched some of the different episodes, so you've probably seen Demian, who's on the show with me quite often. Me and Demian was
Mm-hmm.
getting into a really deep conversation the other day. We was discussing Christianity and Hinduism and the similarities between the two,
Mm.
and how
Okay.
a lot of the language that is used is, while culturally different, if you look at it, there are a lot of similarities in it with, one of the things that you see run through um a lot of cultures is the sacredity of the three. You've got the triple goddess in paganism, you've got the Holy Trinity in Christianity, and you see that even in some of these different religions that have pantheons of gods and goddesses, there's usually three primary, and it's the big
There is a
three.
power.
Exactly, it's a very powerful number. um
Yep.
I was actually born on the third of the month, so
Okay.
it's a good number for me. It's always been a good number for me. So it's and it's funny because you see it come through so many different cultures. You see this triad in different ways, and even in a lot of the sacred symbols, they're done in formations of three.
Mm-hmm.
And to look at all these different coincidences and look across all these different cultures that have that same synchronicity across the board, uh, their cultures didn't intertwine for thousands and thousands of years, and these things
Right.
were still there.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, to
Well,
me,
believe me, things intertwine more than people understand.
oh yeah.
And eventually it's all gonna culminate again.
Well, yeah, and that even goes into a lot of the belief of the universal consciousness, that we're all intertwined and we're all interconnected, and we're all, we're energetic spiritual beings that are all tied in together one way, shape, or form or another.
Yes.
So
And I have a cat out there going crazy. He thinks he's intertwined in the program or something. He wants to be a part of everything.
well, it is funny because
Yes.
I love cats. I grew up around cats and stuff, and it's funny. I was just sharing the other day. I said someone made a comment about cats think they're gods, and I'm like, well, in ancient Egypt they was worshipped, so they've never
Mm-hmm.
forgot that, and they still demand it.
That's true. Very true. Yep.
But
Yeah, so um I don't know where I was going to go with what I was saying. Oh my goodness. It just, I'm getting old. It just went, whoop,
Well,
it's
we've
gone.
we've kind of chased the rabbit around the tree.
Hmm. Yeah, we have. Yeah, we've talked about a lot of different things around in a circle.
But they all come back around together.
This is true. It's true. You know, yeah, I book up so quickly with cleanses, and somebody will book with me, and then they'll pay because they have to pay ahead to book, and then they'll call me and they'll say, "Wait, what do I have to do now? Is this gonna hurt? Am I gonna be okay?" And as soon as I say, "Make sure you have a driver, somebody can drive you." What? But what's gonna happen? Nothing any worse than what you live on the daily.
Right. It's just one of those things, safety reasons and precautions. You want to make sure they have someone because, the the experience itself, not necessarily anything that you're giving them, but just the experience itself can be
Right.
overwhelming, and it takes time to integrate that. You want to have time to be able to sit with it and not have to have your focus drawn away, because you're
Yes.
processing a lot at that point in time.
Yes. Well, because the hot pay in itself, the effects of it don't go past 15 minutes. However, you remain in that state of consciousness that you're letting go of things, and you could do that until the next day. And it's very draining
Oh yeah,
because people that come
uh,
people that come here and are ready to cleanse, oh my gosh, they can leave here completely depleted, and some people have to be carried out, you know, with help.
oh
They
yeah.
have to be carried out.
I mean,
And it's okay because they're okay. It's just that their energy is completely zapped.
right. And I've seen that even in things like therapy sessions and stuff, where people have went
Mm-hmm.
into a session with a counselor, and when they really let it go, and they
Oh
go
yes.
through all that emotion, that in and of itself alone can just zap and drain you to the point to where you, like you said, you have trouble standing up, you have trouble focusing, driving's not safe. You need to have someone there with you at that point, and it's
Mm-hmm.
it's nothing more than that emotional release, and how overwhelming that can be once you finally let go of holding on to all of that crap.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And but sometimes you're saying that, and sometimes that's how it comes out too. The people go home and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, my stomach and everything just came out that way," because sometimes people don't purge, but it has to come out. And like, okay, so for instance, when we do a cleanse, and we always have a bowl, because once you hit them with the hot pay, you can only breathe through the mouth, and you have to spit, 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 because you don't swallow. And so we wipe the mouth and all the spit and everything, and sometimes other vomit and stuff goes into the bowl. And when they leave, they have to either bury that bowl or let it float freely away in a body of water. I don't like to litter, but it has to be done. And I feel like spirit understands. It's earth. The earth understands that it has to go. It has to
Right.
float away calmly, and it has to just go. And that closes off that cleansing then. And I find sometimes people call me a day or two later and they'll say, "Man, when I let that bowl go, or when I buried that bowl, I felt like I was just letting go of everything that I got rid of that day. And I feel so free."
Oh yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that even in the plant medicines that I've worked with, quite a few of them. I mean, every time I work with them, there's some kind of purge, some kind. And it
Mm-hmm.
may be, like you said, it may be vomiting, it may be a bowel movement, it may be urination.
Mm-hmm.
It could be crying, it could be sweating, it could be um, uncontrollable laughter, yawning,
Mm-hmm.
stuff along those lines. But there's going to be some kind of purging process
Mm-hmm.
where these things are coming up and out in one way, shape, or another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's crazy. A long time ago, this is about 5+ years, I used to cleanse people in what's called the Peace River here, about 45 minutes from my house. And that's before I started using Hape. So I take the people, then, that would usually about a 2-hour process and use energy to help them wash away in the Peace River. So I had this lady one time, and she was cleansing, and she was laying down, and I was praying over her, and she had her knees bent up, and all of a sudden one of these really tall birds lands by her knee, squawking, and I'm like, jeez, but she didn't budge. She kept on, in her mind, letting go. The bird left after a few minutes. It was just screaming its head off, and it went and flew up into a tree and sat there. When she was finished and she came back around, she said, man, she said, when that bird started screaming, she said, I was actually giving birth to the little girl that was emotionally and physically abused when I was young.
Right.
And I was like, whoa, at that. I was like, wow, that's crazy. And she was like, no, really, I wasn't saying anything, but the bird was screaming for me. That's what was happening.
It
I'm
was
like,
giving those
wow,
birthing pains.
yes.
Yeah. And people don't understand animals are really, really sensitive
Mm-hmm.
to energies and stuff, and especially when you start working with energy in this manner and what is
Mm-hmm.
going on around. And it's funny, most everyone's seen my dog Tanner's always around on the streams. He pops up all the
Mm-hmm.
time and stuff. Tanner's ceremonial dog. He goes into ceremony with me every time I go into ceremony. Tanner's right by my side.
Ah,
And he knows how to conduct himself during ceremony too. And if he starts barking or growling, he's alerting me to something is going on. Not necessarily with me,
yep,
but he knows that there is something going on. And it's funny because I
yep.
sat down, oh, this has got to be 4 or 5 years ago now. I sat down one day, and I was at another gathering that had people from many different nations. It wasn't per se an all nations gathering, but there was a lot of people gathered from different nations and stuff there. And we was sitting there, and there was a lot of First Nations people that was there with us. And
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to this chief, and me and him were the only two people that had dogs there. I took Tanner with me to this gathering, and it was one of those things that the place that we went, he wasn't supposed to bring animals. Um,
Oh,
but I
okay.
had contacted the people and told them, said if I show up, he's coming with me. So you can tell me no,
Mm-hmm.
and I won't show. And
Mm-hmm.
the people that was putting it on simply responded by saying, well, if you show up with him and you're here, we aren't going to tell you to leave. The people who own the property, because they was renting it from another group to do this gathering
Mm-hmm.
on, they said they may say something. And
Mm-hmm.
I went up there, and I was sitting next to this chief, and we was talking, and he told me, he says, they won't say anything to you. I said, why? He goes, first off, he says, I've got my dog. And he had this little chihuahua with him.
Okay.
Cute little adorable
And they're
dog.
not going to say anything to the chief.
No. And he was pretty much the head over this group, and this group, visited its property all the time and stuff. And he told me, he goes,
Right,
I'll
right.
tell you this right now. He says, it is important to always take dogs with you into ceremony. And he said the reason why
Mm.
is they alert you when there's spirits coming near that you shouldn't be dealing
Oh,
with.
wow.
They will alert the tribe of things going on. So he says he always, and speaking of such, come here, T. Come here. Come here. Come on.
Oh, he was taking a nap?
Yeah, he sleeps on the couch right
Hi,
behind me.
Tanner.
He just got up. Oh, hi, buddy.
Hi, Tanner.
But
Oh,
yeah,
he's so sweet.
He's ceremonial dog. He knows when I start prepping for ceremony and stuff. That there's certain things we do. There's certain things we do to prepare and stuff and get ready for it. And he does his part and everything. But yeah, he's.
Well, the other thing. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say he's alerted me more than once when there's been something that wasn't quite right going on, and then when I started looking into things on an energetic and spiritual level, I've been able to sense things that were not right.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure he's used to, what you do and how you deal with, getting ready for ceremony and everything. He's probably, yeah, good for you.
He doesn't like to smoke with the
I was
sage
gonna
and
say,
everything, but
right. When I used to cleanse in the Peace River and somebody was really, really starting to let go, fish would start jumping.
oh yeah,
They'd just be going crazy everywhere, and I'm scared of fish. But they were far enough away that I was like, okay. But yeah, it was it's always a really neat experience.
oh yeah, especially having animals in and around when you're working with it and stuff, and getting out and doing ceremony in nature versus an urban setting. While you can do amazing things in an urban setting, it doesn't. As long as you have the right intentions and you're in a safe spot and stuff, it doesn't necessarily matter where you're at. But oh, hi, buddy. There is something to be said about being out in nature and doing these things out there, because the energetic flow just seems to be more powerful, and you do get a lot of that connection from the animals and stuff that are in and around the area and stuff.
Yep, it's true. Yeah, so there's not much more to my spiritual cleanse than what I've already said. But like, over these years and years and so many different people, we've probably cleansed over, because we used to do group cleanses. And we probably cleansed over 1,000 people.
Oh wow. That's a lot of good work going on. At this point in time, I'm gonna ask if anyone that's viewing, if anybody's got any questions. We can field some questions if anyone's got any. We'll approach this and see what's going on and stuff. But just as far as just people interacting with the cleanses and stuff, it's we've touched on a lot of different things with it, like what you use and stuff. You said you got the cleanse in the bottle, but you said that's mainly for people that's been initially cleansed once, right?
Right. I mean, and of course, if somebody's just, without root work or any, because people have performed witchcraft on people and all, hexing and all that stuff, we take that off too. But and the bottle cleanse can handle like very limited cases of that, but it can also just handle the daily, just a daily cleanse. Not daily, but
just
once every 3 months, once every 6 months,
right, just kind of
just to keep your energy clear,
just kind of washing away the gunk and the grime that gets up from the daily grind.
Right. Like I have a lot of people do a combo bath. Like I'll have them do the cleansing bath, and then 3 days later I'll tell them to wait 3 days and do the road opener bath. Open all their pathways. Um, 'cause the cleanser can move a lot of stuff, but a road opener just really just blows it out of proportion. And then you just don't know. Like I had a guy. Oh, this wasn't even a bath. The other day, a guy and his girlfriend came here, and her energy was so bad. It was so bad. Um, her vibe was so off. And I told him, I said, stand up. And I have this, I call it my woo spray. It's something I make, really high smelling, with certain oils and blessed water. And I sprayed him down. So the next day he writes me, I actually posted this on Facebook. He writes me, he said, I woke up with 5 figures in my bank account this morning that I didn't expect.
That's always
Everybody was
a
like,
blessing.
hey, where do I get that stuff at? Yeah. Oh.
Remind me if we ever meet in person to make sure I bring you some of the sacred water that I've got.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll exchange. I'll bring you some of my blessed water.
Okay, yeah, because I've got, well, this stuff has been blessed by John of God as well, from down in Brazil.
Okay.
But it was gathered from,
Oh, okay.
it was water that was gathered from several different temples all across North and South and Central America, including some stuff sourced from Machu Picchu.
Oh, okay. Now, this is Felix up here, and he's somebody that I kind of work with quite a bit, and he makes my blessings water. He's really, really well known in Haiti, um, and he's a very powerful person as well, and very connected. And he makes my blessings water.
I have known some extremely powerful Haitians. Extremely powerful. That spiritual and energetic connection that they have is just, sometimes it is freaky and overwhelming.
Right, right. That brings me to something. So I was doing a cleansing, and this lady drove 5 hours to come here. She said she had tried to get a cleanse at this revival, and that she ended up little, maybe 4'11" woman. And she said that she had whatever spirit was in her, drugged 6 ministers behind her out of a church. They were trying to stop her.
Oh, wow.
So she ended up coming to me. And so we did a cleanse on her. And sometimes in a cleansing, I'll go into spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And she went into spirit. As soon as we hit her with the hape, she went into a spirit. She was speaking some language. We had no idea what it was. So my husband started recording. And my spirit, whatever spirit was in me, was speaking the language back to her. Oh, we searched and searched, and we couldn't find what this language was. So a few months back, we were driving through Wisconsin. I see this big sign in the middle of nowhere, and it said Nashnala, which is one of the words that stuck out to me when I was rewatching the video. It's a word that I said, and I said it over and over and over during the cleansing. And I think it was ancient Arabic. It means God's will. So I have no idea what else I was saying, but I know that part of my cleansing, I kept saying, it's God's will, it's God's will. Because I kept saying, Nashnala, Nashnala.
Yeah, I mean, and the whole speaking in unknown languages or speaking in tongues is something that you see talked about in lots of scripture. Not just within the Judeo-Christian scriptures, which is where it's most commonly known from, but it's used in a lot of different cultures and stuff. There's a lot of people will go into points where they're speaking old languages, or they're speaking ancient languages, or they're speaking spirit. They're speaking in spirit tongues and energetic energies and stuff, and it's something that would freak a lot of people out. They wouldn't necessarily understand it, but I mean, I grew up in full gospel, non-denominational Christian churches where speaking in tongues was a common thing. So
okay.
yeah. So
I grew up in a Lutheran church in Farmland, Illinois. So
I grew up in Bible
they
Belt,
didn't do that.
Ohio.
Okay.
But yeah, and so here's another question I wanted to ask, is if someone wants to get a cleanse but they're not relatively close to you, what can they do besides make a travel? Because there's some people that just aren't able to make that journey, but they might be, after seeing this, going, man, that's something I need.
Right. So, we travel all over the world.
Okay.
I also do remote cleansing, which it's not the same, but it's very effective nonetheless. But we travel everywhere. Like, we just spent 4 days last week. We were in New Orleans. Yesterday we had to travel to Orlando. My husband just left this afternoon for Minnesota, which is where our second office is. And then when he comes back, we have to head out to California to cleanse someone.
Oh, very nice. I lived out in California for 7.5 years, so out in northern California is where I was located at.
Okay. Well, we'll be in Los Angeles. We're always in LA.
Okay, so if people in LA are interested, then that's something that they can end up scheduling with you, and like you said, you're in Minnesota and several other areas. And I saw some of your videos and posts from New Orleans. I cannot wait to get down and visit that city sometime.
Amazing place. Amazing.
It just looks like the energy in that city is just... I just can't wait to get there, to be honest.
Yep. Yeah, for the most part the energy is great. There are certain places that you just go and you're like, "Oh, okay." Well, so if I can't change the energy around here, I have to go to another part.
Well, there is a lot of dark history around that city and stuff too.
Yeah.
I mean, people think New Orleans, they think Mardi Gras, they think parties, they think Bourbon Street, but there's a dark history to that city. I mean, it, especially during the early years of this country, it had a really dark history to it. And that's something we can dive into another time, because there's not enough time left in this show to go into that.
Right.
But
yeah, because we went and did a live in St. Louis Cemetery number 2 last year, I believe it was. And man, you walk into the cemetery and there are some, their graves are above ground.
Right, because of the flooding and stuff. They're all in above ground mausoleums.
Yes. And some of them are very beautiful, and there's offerings at almost every one that I've ever seen. But the feel of walking in there is just like, whoa. It just like the air gets really cold. Almost like your hair stands up on end.
Oh,
but it's not a bad thing. It's very powerful.
Well, in a lot of beliefs and a lot of traditions, why people will keep their hair long is because they believe it's a form of an antenna to communicate with spirit and let you know when spirit is near and around. And so when you feel that hair kind of start to stand up on your arms or stand up on the back of your neck, you're sensing something near you. And
just like the animals.
Yep. And if you watch them, when they start to sense something, especially if it's something that's not positive, you see them raise that hair up.
Hair stands up.
Yep. And that's one of the things, like with Tanner, when I'm in ceremony, if he starts getting up and getting really active and stuff, I pay attention to how he's behaving, because it tells me what's going on. The funny thing is, I have got to know him so well. I've had him for 10.5 years. And I know him so well that I can read him faster than I can read the energy in a room.
Yep.
So if he's responding to it before me, because a lot of times he's more sensitive to it than I am, even when I'm in a ceremonial state where I'm highly, highly sensitive to energies and stuff that's around me, he'll detect it way before I will. And then I can read off of him how I need to respond accordingly.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I actually, my son, well, he's getting ready to turn 17 now, and he was going through some things, not at home, but just in his own mind or life, that he had come across. And we sent him to Peru into the rainforest, and he came back a young man.
Oh yeah.
He went in a broken person, and came back a young man.
Well,
Did Aya and everything else.
it's
He
really
really had
it's one of those things that in American culture we have lost that rite of passage of going from a child into adulthood. We have lost that rite of passage ritual that used to permeate through every culture. And a lot of times it might be the use of plant medicine at that point in time. It might be your first ceremony working with plant medicines, or it might be your first time stepping into one kind of form of sacred ceremony or other. It might be going on a walkabout, where you are sent out on your own to spend time away from everyone to find yourself. And
Yes.
and at times it was, in older times, it was one of those things that you went and you either came back and you had found yourself, or you didn't come back.
Right. Yep, it's true.
But
I remember that as a young person.
yeah, but we've lost that in this culture, and I think that that's an important thing. And you saying that about him going down to Peru and spending time down there and working with the plant medicines and coming back from someone who was broken, might be the right term, or just struggling, or whatever it is, wherever he was at, coming back to where he had that confidence. He had walked through those flames and he had come out and he had endured that.
He had that ego death.
Oh, that is such an important thing. And we even discussed a little bit about that on Monday show with Mary. We touched on ego death, and a lot of people hear ego death and they think, oh God, ego death, that sounds horrible, that sounds bad. There's a part of the ego that is good and healthy for you to have. It works to keep us safe. It works as a good part of us. But there's times where we can feed into parts of it that it becomes the biggest thing that's harming us and hurting us. And it gets in our way and trips us up so much. And it's really a point of time of going out and learning how to be humble.
Yeah, that's true.
And
true.
Anyone who does experience ego death, it's not a one-time thing.
Right.
You got to work on it regularly, because that ego can, revive itself and come back and start to get in there again.
Yep. Very true.
But yeah, I'm glad to hear that he
had a lot.
Huh?
We've covered so much. I'm just like, wow.
We've been going about an hour and 10 minutes at this point.
Oh wow. Not like when I did the radio show not too long ago, we had to cram everything into 30 minutes.
Yeah, I've always tried to do between an hour and a half to 2 hours time frame. That way, depending on what we end up wanting to get into, how deep we want to dive on things, and
Have
everything
that
along
time.
those lines. We've got that time, you know. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to make it feel pressure, you know. If we're gonna dive into a subject, I'm one of those people. It's like, you know, let's start off with the
At first.
let's start off with the basics so everyone knows where we're going. But I'm ready to dive in and dive deep, you know.
Yep.
And you know, it's a great thing because actually, I was having a conversation today with another guest that I'm going to be booking onto the show, and we're going to be dealing with the topic of shadow work, which is another part of things that goes
Oh,
along with the spiritual cleansing, is doing that shadow work.
you know what people forget is anytime there's light, there's a shadow.
Oh yeah.
You can't do light work without shadow work.
Oh yeah, and I have seen so many light workers, when you bring up shadow work, they'll shy away. And I tell you what,
Yes,
if you're ever working with a light worker that shies away when you mention shadow work, do not work with that person, because most likely
that part.
they have not done their own shadow work, so they're not going to be able to help you work through yours.
Yes, correct.
And that's where the
Yep.
healing starts. That's where the real healing starts, is when you deal with that shadow part.
Mm-hmm.
It's not when you're standing in the light.
You have to. You have to. You can't. It's not all pixies and daisies.
I
You
say
just
that so
can't.
much. I say it's not all sunshine and rainbows and cotton candy
Right,
clouds.
that part.
You know,
Yeah. You
it,
can't you can't fix everything with sunshine. You
no,
just can't.
and the real
You have to go where nobody wants to go.
right, that real
You have to get in.
healing work is dirty. It is messy. It is getting into that muck and mire and digging up that crap and that crud, much like what you talk about
Hmm.
during a cleansing. You've got to get that crap and that crud out in order to heal. It's
Hmm.
like if you have a wound that's infected, you've got to get that infection out, and sometimes you might just have to dig into that wound and just literally dig it out.
Yep. And I tell people, like, if you have to scream, go ahead.
Yeah,
Cry, scream, do whatever you kick and scream if you have to. Whatever it takes to get you through wherever you have to get through.
right, right, and that's an important point, that, you know, when someone's coming in to do serious healing work, when these people are trying to really face down their demons and to work past their traumas, their abuses, their emotional and spiritual neglect and stuff that a lot of people have dealt with, and even going into things like dealing with stuff like generational curses and stuff that have been passed down from generation to
Oh my gosh,
generation.
yes.
I imagine you see a lot of that
We do
in
those.
your work. Yeah.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
that is really messy
Actually,
work.
it is. And if you're not prepared, it can be deadly. And I'm not even kidding. I almost lost my life um taking off a generational curse off of my reader before she became my reader.
Oh yeah,
It was that spirit was terrible.
yeah.
That's the only I can't even say the worst word.
we I had a discussion on another Discord that I belong to, because I have, you know, the Breaking Reality Discord, where we have a lot of different discussions on things and stuff. And if someone wants to join it, there's a link down below that you can click on, both on the Twitch and on in the description of the YouTube channel. There'll be a link that you can click if you want to join that community and be part of that community. We have a lot of discussions over there. It's a great way to stay on top of what shows we have coming up and stuff. But another community that I belong to, that's another streamer. They don't do these kinds of spiritual streams, but in their Discord channel they have a section that deals with all kinds of different spiritual topics. And we had someone coming in that you could tell they were very young. We don't know this person's age for sure. We can't verify it, but we figured they were a very young teenager who had been introduced into maybe something along the lines of Wicca or witchcraft, and they had this idea. They came in talking about wanting to do spell work and find someone to work with them to do spell work. And we told them, said, well, slow up a little bit. It sounds like, you're wanting to jump in, you're wanting to do these things, but do you have training? Do you have a mentor? Do you have someone you work with? And they're like, oh, well, I've worked with this one person for a little bit. And we're like, no. When you get ready to start doing this kind of work, when you start working in the spirit work, and even more so when you start working in the energy work, it is dangerous. There are dangerous amounts of energies that you can pull up, and if you do not know how to handle that in a proper way, you can put yourself and others at risk.
I'll tell you, I'm so glad you brought that up. Locally here, I don't know how it is everywhere else. Every year there's like a fad career. And 2020 was to be a reader and a healer. I'll tell you, I was so angry most of last year because I was watching people be a pop-up healer. All of a sudden, oh, I'm a healer now. And I had so many people coming to me getting fixed what was messed up by someone.
I ordered a set of tarot cards off of Amazon and read a book. And I've never done this before.
I had a young man. So listen to this. I had a young man come to me. Well, he didn't come to me. His parents brought him to me because he was watching some YouTube person chant, and he was picking up tarot cards. He was playing with a Ouija board, and he became a portal, and some energy got a hold of it. He couldn't even speak anymore. He was speaking some other language. His parents brought him to me. They were like, please, we don't know. He was like Superman with strength. He was pulling toilets out of the floor. And I'll tell you, that was a cleansing for the books.
Oh, I bet.
And just stemming from a kid playing with a tarot card and Ouija board and becoming whatever he opened up for himself, not even knowing what he's done.
I tell you what, I'm not scared to pick up a tarot deck. I'm not scared to pick up an oracle deck, and by God, I will grab those runes any day of the week. That's I've had my runes for over 20 years. The same set.
Right.
I've not always had them with me. They, at one point in time, they was in the care of someone else, and then they came back to me. That person did not use them. They strictly held them for me until I was able to return back with them. But that set's mine, and I use them, and sometimes I don't even use them. I just carry them, just having them on me. But one thing that I will not mess with is a Ouija board.
Ouija board.
Straight up will not. I don't care if it's made by Milton Bradley or who.
Yes.
I just won't pick one up. I will not mess with it. I won't touch any part of it.
It can open up some stuff.
I'll get into a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things that I'll head into, and I'm not scared. Yeah. I know personally in my experiences, I know spiritually where my energy and my protection comes from, and what that power is and where that flows from, and it flows straight from the source of creation. That's where it comes from. That spirit energy comes straight from the source. And it's not me physically doing any of it. It is that source and that energy that is channeled through me as a vessel.
Correct.
But there are just certain portals that I won't challenge. And I'm one of those people who has no problem standing at the void and getting ready to dive in. but still, there's some things that I just won't mess with.
Right. Well, you know, like I said to everybody, I've been doing this my whole life. And when I was, even before I was a teen, I had a Ouija board.
Yeah.
And I always had one. Always had one until I was, I think I was around 24, 25, which was decades ago now. And I was getting ready to move out of this house that I lived in. And I had stopped using it at that point. I didn't even know where it was. And when I got ready to move my bed out to, put it on the truck, Ouija board was like stuck to the wall. So I told my son, who was about 13 at the time. No, he wasn't 13 because I had to have been like 33 then. Yeah, he was about 13. Yeah. And I told him, I said, hey, go pull that off of the wall. And I don't know what we're going to do with it, but it has to leave. He couldn't get it off the wall. And he told me, he said, Mom, he said, if you go feel that, it feels like it's on fire. Well, that's what stayed at that house. It was hot.
Part of me
stuck
is
to the wall,
part
and it
of
was
me is
burning
laughing because there's a video game out that a buddy of mine bought. Another streamer bought it for me, and I played it with him. It's called Phasmaphobia, and you're a paranormal researcher going into houses to investigate hauntings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in there, the spirits can end up killing your character in the game if you're not careful. There's risk in messing with it and stuff. But in the game, there occasionally you find Ouija boards in different locations. And even in the game,
oh man,
even in the game, when we find a Ouija board in a location, the guys are like, hey, there's a Ouija board over here. Come over here and activate. Nope. That is you.
I'm good.
You get to mess with that. I'm not going to even mess with it in a video game, okay? I've got my limitations.
Right?
I tell you what, I'll go over here and pick up the voodoo doll and carry it back out to the truck.
Yeah.
You're
not messing with that Ouija board.
But I'm not touching that Ouija board. I'm not touching
you
that
have
thing.
To have morals,
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
I've got my boundaries.
That's my other profession. That's the other thing we do. We do paranormal adventures and investigations as well. And so I got a call. This was 2 weeks ago, and somebody went on Facebook and in some group or something, and their house something was going on the last 2 weeks at their house that they ended up at 11 o'clock at night. The whole family, kids included, left the house because they said that the kids' dolls were actually talking. So they got a hold of me. Somebody referred me, and they got a hold of me. And I said, well, let's talk a little bit before I decide that I'll take the job. And I said, my first question is, has there been anything brought into the home that either came from a thrift store, a side of the road, or something like that? And she said, well, actually, my ex that lives in the other bedroom picked up a chair on the side of the road. She said, I don't know why he picked it up because it's so tattered and torn, but he felt like he wanted that chair really bad. And I said, I bet it coincides with all this stuff that you just told me about that's been happening. She said, actually, you know what? You're right. It does. I said, before I'll come there, I need him to take that chair and put it at the beach. He doesn't have to bury it. Don't put it in the water. Set it at the beach. It's like a peaceful, movement of whatever's attached to that chair to move it to a peaceful space. And so the guy didn't want to do it. He said he was attached to the chair. He did not want to do it. But he ended up, he went ahead and took the chair at her prompting. So we went there that night to go clear the house because they refused to go back. We didn't know, we had never been there before. We didn't know what room the chair was in. So we walk in, we get our equipment, and we go through with the spirit box and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And
See,
we walk
funny thing,
back.
you'd love to see that video game because you use spirit boxes, you got digital thermometers,
Oh,
you got EMF readers. You're
yeah.
setting
Well,
up
we had one
video,
of those too.
yeah, you're setting up video cameras with night vision to catch ghost orbs and stuff along those lines.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have all that.
yeah.
So we walk into this back bedroom, and when I tell you, my skin was crawling just walking in. And I brought Nisha with me, who is my reader, and she's my assistant when my husband's not here.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa!" She backed up out of there, and it was so bad in that room. Come to find out, of course, that's the room that the chair was in.
Right.
Well, she's so pleased with the results. She's like, it's like walking into a whole new house now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it is in situations like that. There's a spirit that's attached to something. It's attached itself to a specific item, or a person, or a location, and
Uh,
it's a matter of, you know, some of them can be really harmful, and stuff, and some of it is because they're confused and they
yeah.
don't know what's going on. They don't realize they have passed. They don't realize they have crossed over, or have supposed to have crossed over and haven't, and that they're
Well, yeah. This one wasn't nice, I can tell you.
right.
It was the feeling of whatever it was, and I don't know if it was the spirit that was attached to the chair that was still there and didn't go with the chair, or if it was something else that they brought in with them. I don't know, but whatever it was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, like she said, the kids come running out of the room. They're like, the dolls are talking. And the dolls, she said she went in, the dolls were talking.
Yeah, and that's, you know, I actually read a book, and it goes along doing some of the end of life work. But it's a book called Death Walking, and it's in the Pagan Portal series of books, and it was it's an anthology of stories, and it was edited by Laura Perry, if I remember right. And one of the stories in there is someone talking about how, you know, their work, they don't necessarily spend time in helping people at that moment of crossing over. What they do is, from a shamanic standpoint, they go in when there are spirits that haven't crossed over, that they've got
Yeah.
trapped here. They didn't go through onto the next part of that journey. And, you know,
Yeah,
so,
we do that as well.
you
Yeah.
know, a lot of them are confused, some of them are scared, some of them are just pissed off, angry, and refusing to go.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know, and it could be because they feel they have something unresolved that needs to be dealt with before they go. And
Yep. Yeah, we've done that as well too, spiritual releases.
yeah, so you've worked in the realm of, you know, the shamanic death walking, or also what they'll call a
Mhm.
psychopomp.
Mhm.
And that's, you know,
Yep.
that's a lot of hardcore shamanic work right there when you get down to it.
Yeah.
And that's, you
It's
know,
true.
when you start dealing with those spirits that haven't crossed over and they need to, um that's a difficult task at times.
It is.
And
Yeah. I mean, that's not my expertise, but we've done that
that in
several times. We've done a spiritual release.
that in and of itself is another form of a spiritual cleansing. You
It's
know,
true.
it's just on a different level. And actually, another question that I have for you is, have you dealt with having to cleanse stuff like that off of a specific person when they have come in for a spiritual cleansing?
Yes. Yes, we've done that too. Somebody that had an attachment, a spiritual attachment with them. Yes, we've done that.
Yeah,
And it hasn't always been a pretty sight. I consider that like an exorcism.
it really gets to that
Because
point.
it gets, yes, it gets down and dirty in here.
No, I bet. And that's
We
that
had a
point.
guy.
Huh?
Yeah, we had a guy. He was so possessed for a period of 9 years, and his girlfriend brought him to us. And I tell you, when we were, taking the spirit off of him, I had him in a headlock, and my other reader had him in a leg lock because he tried to get up and run out. The spirit tried to make him leave, and after he was finished, he was out for about 3 hours on my floor, and prospered really, really well after that.
Good.
But the thing happened with him. He did really, really, really well, and then I guess he felt lost without the attachment. His own. He did not know he'd been
He had
had
lost
that
his sense
attachment
of
so
self.
long, right? And he's basically withering away now. He's lost.
I'll give you some suggestions if you're still in touch with him that you might be able to do for him. I don't know that it will work, but there is a shamanic practice called a soul retrieval.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard of soul retrieval work. It's not something that I personally do. It's not in my wheelhouse, per se, with my expertise. You probably have to look around, but there is a shamanic practice called soul retrieval where people actually lose part of themselves, and it can happen during instances like that. It can happen a lot of times
Oh,
from
okay.
traumatic effects and stuff. So that might be
Yeah.
something that he needs to look into, is finding a shaman or a curandero or someone who can do soul retrieval work with them. And
Okay.
that it may or may not be beneficial, but from my studies, from things that I have read, from some of the books that I have dived into, and some of the people that I have talked to, I would at least approach that as a possibility. Find someone who specializes in that, who's that's their field they work in, and
Right,
have them
right.
talk with him, and get them to see if maybe that's what's going on, because someone who works in that, which soul retrieval is a really big part of a lot of shamanic work, but people don't understand that there's a broad
Right.
range
Mm-hmm.
of things that work underneath that, and different shamans, different practitioners, different curanderos, different spiritual healers, energy healers and stuff, people that work in this modalities, they all have different gifts that they're good at, and some that they that's not their thing.
Right, right. Yeah. And out of all the cleanses we've done, that's the only one that's happened with. And that was one of the three I would consider an exorcism or something near to that.
Yeah.
He just
I would definitely suggest, if you're still in contact with them,
Mhm.
to tell them to maybe look into that avenue.
Okay.
I personally wouldn't even know where to start to go to find someone along those lines, but I imagine if you really start diving around some of the spiritual circles and stuff, and looking around,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to find someone. You're going to want to vet them out before you go work with them too. And that's another
Right,
thing that
right, right. Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
think is important, that a lot of people don't do. When you start working with someone in these realms, if you go to someone and they say, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
healer, or I do this or I do that, vet them out. Find out who they've worked with.
Yes.
Find out what experiences
Absolutely.
they have had. You know,
Yep.
I I don't work with a lot of people because of the things that I do usually lead me working more directly with spirit. They usually lead me doing a lot of things more on a solitary path. And
Right.
that's just my path. That's how I operate a lot.
That's your path. Yeah.
This is where I bring other people in. And it's one of
Right.
those things that, if I need to
You
work with,
connect. You
right,
connect
if I need to work with, I will work with some people, but it's very specific things I'll work with, and I am going to be training to go in to work with people with plant medicines and stuff. And that's part of my desire, part of my path. So I'll be working with people more on that aspect of things, but stuff like soul retrieval work, stuff along those lines. Yeah, that's not my field, but it's one of those things.
Right.
It's one of those things that any good healer, and I see it with you. You work with a team, and
Right.
I bet each one of you, including your husband and all of your readers and stuff that you work with, you all have different areas that you cover differently.
Oh yes, yeah. Everybody knows their. Like it's three of us that do the cleansings, and each one of us knows our role that we have to play. And I'll tell you, if one of us is not available, the whole team shuts down. We don't do cleanses on that day because everybody is so important,
Right.
in their role in whatever that they have to do with the cleansing. We can't do it without each other.
And see, I think that's important. That shows a certain level that you adhere to. That, hey, if we don't have everyone together, if we're not all on the same page doing this, we're not going to do it.
Right, that's real. I've canceled a whole day of cleanses because my husband couldn't get a flight from wherever he was to get here to do it, due to weather or what have you. I'll cancel the whole day, or if Nisha's not available, she can't get here, whatever the case may be. Yeah, if the three of us aren't there, we're not doing it.
And that I think is a really good sign. That's a good thing to see. And it's like you said, people that are out there that have made this the new fad job, they wouldn't do that because they're in it for the money. They're in it to they don't understand the level of things that they're working with and that they're dealing with.
Right.
And like me, for what I'm getting ready to go into, with working with plant medicines, I'm also getting ready to become ordained in the church and stuff too, that I'm working with, and working on the ministerial process with everything with that. So there are roles that I'm getting ready to step into, and working towards, where I'm going to be less solitary and working more with others. But but the role of going into being a medicine person and working down that path, I've been working with the specific medicine that I'm going to mainly work with, just myself personally, for over 5 years. And I'll probably work with it many more years before I'm actually on that path as a medicine person. Because there's a lot to do with that and to learn before you dive in and you start putting people at risk. Because, hey, look, I went on Google and figured out what plants I needed to buy and what how to make these things and how to work with how to do these plant medicines. I'm going to call myself a shaman and sell this crap to people and risk their lives. It's not like that. It can't be.
It's and like you were saying before, and like I said earlier, it's very dangerous.
Yeah.
It's not anything you should just say, oh yeah, this is what I am today. Yeah. No, it doesn't work like that.
And that's one of the things I like about the ONAC, the Ocklawaha Native American Church that I belong to. Their governing council their governing council at the mother church has very strict processes for vetting people to become medicine persons. And if those people do not continue to uphold that level, the mother church has no problem cutting them loose and getting rid of them.
Right.
They have no problem with that. And they don't hide that fact. When, if someone is doing things wrong, they're going to let it be known that this person is not someone you need to be working with. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
because they're trying to embarrass that person or anything. They're trying to make sure people stay safe, that we work with these plant medicines in a safe and sacred manner, and that we're working with these things in a way that we're protecting each other while we do so.
Yep, that's true.
And that's why when I work with these medicines, I go to ONAC medicine people. I seek out those medicine
Right.
people to work with, and those, and I've had experiences outside of the ONAC before I joined, but now that I'm part of the ONAC, I see the importance of the way they have put things together. And if you go back and watch the 3 episodes that I did with James Flaming Eagle Mooney, who is the co-founder of the
Mm-hmm.
ONAC, James talks about his training under some medicine persons and everything that he went through, being taught to work with sacred plants and to be in working with peyote is a lot of where he started learning how to work with peyote. And everything that
Right,
he
right.
went through in that process, he doesn't dive super deep in it, but he touches on that whole process, and that when the time came for him to start this church, he received the blessings from a chief out of the Rosebud Reservation of the Lakota Sioux, and that's where the Aquavan Native
Mm-hmm.
American Church came out of. But
Mm-hmm.
he
Mm-hmm.
trained with several medicine people before he went down this path, and that was
Mm-hmm.
part of his journey, and so he knows the importance. And a lot of times, to really get down into this, you need 10 plus years of working with these plant medicines at times, some of them,
Oh yeah,
to
absolutely.
really dive in. Now there's some people that are gifted, and they get in there and they start working with them, and they've got that understanding, they've got that knowledge, spirit speaks to them, they teach them, they
Mm-hmm.
learn, and they can get in there and do it in less time, but they still have to put in that time.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's I have the utmost level of respect for the ONAC medicine people that go out there and they have put this time in, and they do this work, and they do this sacred work, and they work with these different
Mm-hmm.
plant medicine modalities and stuff, and even the ministerial staff and the spiritual teams and stuff that don't necessarily work plant medicines, but they work, you know, on different aspects of it. That it's really
Right.
a good group of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I did my research before I became a member as well.
Yeah,
And I was like, yeah, I want to be a part of this.
yeah, and it's I'm glad that you're in there. It's a good community, and it's filled with good people, and it was
Mm-hmm.
through the ONAC that we was able to connect.
Right, it's true.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and actually, hold on, I'm going to, let's see, there we go. I have a command I can put up in the chat for anyone who's interested in the ONAC, and also right there's um, Judie's website too that anyone can check out and take a look at as well. So, I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
you're interested in the things that we're talking about, is you want to become an ONAC member, you want to get in here, and you want to work with some of these things that we're working with. Um, they're going to vet you before you become a member. They're-
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, going through the Peaceful Mountain Way, I spent some time talking to Demian before I received my letter of good standing with the branch,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted to make sure I was coming in for the right reasons.
Right. I was so proud when I got my card. I was like, oh, I'm a member.
Oh,
And I got the card and my letter and everything. I was so proud.
my letter hangs next to my altar, and I've got it on the wall next to my
Mm-hmm.
altar, and my card stays in my wallet and goes everywhere I go. I don't go anywhere without that card.
Me either. Me either.
And you know, it is a thing that I'm proud of. I'm proud to be part of this group of great people that are out here doing this. And the one thing I want to say about the ONAC is it doesn't matter what your religious belief is. You can be Christian, you
Right,
can be Muslim, you can be Hindu, you can be Buddhist, you can be
right.
whatever it is. You know, you can be pagan, you can be whatever spiritual belief you want. It is that earth based connection, that earth based spiritual connection that we work with. We don't, you know, whatever religious background you come from, it's that deep connection with working with these plant medicines, with working with these earth-based spirits and
Mm-hmm.
stuff that we have a connection with, that we learn how to connect with the divinity through. And that to me,
And we're basically a group of people helping each other with integrity and love.
absolutely, and they are very high on things like integrity and honor, and you know, the noble, the what do they call them, the teachings of the grandfathers, I think is what they refer to them as in Native American cultures. I can't remember all of
Right.
them right off the top of my head, but I was going to grab my binder, but I realized, oh, hold on. Give me a second. I think I could run through them if I can find it here quick enough. My ministerial exam binder.
Mm-hmm.
We don't mess around.
I know, right?
You know, like one of the big things that we have to hold to is we've got a code of ethics that we have to hold to, not just as leaders but as members. You know, we have a code of conduct. Let's see if I can find these. I know they're in here somewhere. If they're not in here, I know they're on the page. But if
The
I can,
site, yeah.
on the site, if I can find them though, I wouldn't mind running through them just so people can hear.
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot of the legal documents in here as well that talks about the foundation of the church and everything as well. Let's see.
A lot of reading.
Oh, there's so much in here, and honestly, this binder could probably be a lot thicker. I just
Right.
ran out of stuff. I just ran out of places to put everything, and I'm like, yeah. See, I don't even have them in here, and that's part of the things, you know. It's but it's part of how we work with the respect, with the honor, the integrity. Oh, here we go. Gratitude, humility, faith, respect, honor, charity, and forgiveness. And this is right from the very first line of our code of conduct for the Aklava Native American Church members. It says, I commit to living a sacred earth honoring lifestyle which embraces the ONAC principles of gratitude, humility, faith, respect, honor, charity, and forgiveness. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that is line 1 of our code of conduct. So, you know,
Yep, that sums it up.
yeah. And when you get to working with people that adhere to that, it's a beautiful thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, if that's something that any of you connect with, by all means, check out the ONAC. I'm not trying to recruit people or anything, but if this is something that, you know, resonates with you, and you're looking for this group of people, check them out. I've made some really good friendships through the ONAC. I've been honored to get some really great teachings. I've had a lot of times just, you know, hanging out, chatting with people, talking about different topics, getting into some of those groups on Facebook where we talk about all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good way to go deep.
Yes, it is.
But at that, is there anything else you want to add to the show before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. I think I've covered everything that I can think of.
Okay.
And of course, as soon as we get off the air, I'll probably go, "Oh my gosh, there's that one thing that I want."
Absolutely. It'd be
that
like,
I wanted to.
oh, it happens to us all. There's so many times where
Yep.
I've went off the air after a show and went, oh crap, I meant to ask that question before we wrapped up at the end of the night.
Right.
But I want to say, Judie, it's been an honor to have you on. It's been a great time tonight, spending time with you, getting to talk with you. I know you're on vacation right now, and you're taking some vacation time. I saw that video.
It's okay. I appreciate it.
But I do.
No, it's been very, very, very nice.
But yeah, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to spend not just with me, but with all the viewers and stuff, and to share your knowledge and your wisdom and your stories and stuff. And like I said, if you want to connect with Judie, her website's there. It'll be down below in the description on the YouTube channel too, once this goes up on YouTube. And yeah, just thank you. It's been a great honor.
Thank you. Thank you as well. And, thank you to any viewers that are watching. And, yeah, I appreciate everyone.
And it's been a great night. So, all right, I think at that, we're going to go ahead and call it a night. Our next show will be on Monday. And give me a minute, and I'll tell you guys who is coming up on the next show, because I'm not 100% sure. Oh.
See, that's when you have a whole lineup.
Got my calendar.
There you go.
I've got this month is fully booked. Our next show on Monday at 7 p.m. is going to be a very dear friend of mine who I have known for many, many years personally, by the name of Stephanie Bishop, and we are going to be discussing doing some of that inner child work.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
that's going to be interesting.
Yes, and this is one of the areas that Stephanie has some knowledge in, and she's worked in and stuff, and she's going to come from it not just from a spiritual standpoint, but from a psychological standpoint as well, with some of the psychology and the science and stuff behind why we need to work with this, and work through these issues with the inner child.
Mm-hmm.
So that.
Well, yeah, that's gonna be a good show.
That's gonna be a good one. And then the next Wednesday, I believe the name is Armin. I'm not exactly sure on the pronunciation, but I will get it down before the show. We are going to be discussing the Great Awakening. So that's going to be the next show. And then
I'll be tuned in.
Yeah, we've got some good shows coming up, including on St. Patrick's Day. We're actually going to do 2 shows that day. We're going to have one at 3 p.m. with, that's 3 p.m. Eastern Time, with Shannon Harris, who he works with sound healing, and we're going to be discussing frequencies, vibrations, and healing. And then
yes,
a real life friend of mine who I have known since high school. She is going to be here with me that day, and she's going to probably co-host Shannon's episode with me. And then that evening, we're going to do an episode, and we are going to go in. She deals with narcolepsy, and we are going to have a discussion about about narcolepsy. And I've talked to her a lot about the shamanic states and what that's like when you go into the shamanic states and stuff through meditation or plant medicine work, and you journey into those shamanic states. She says that that's very similar to what she goes through when she goes into a narcoleptic event, like when her narcolepsy kicks in.
Wow.
So we are
Huh.
going to sit down that
Hmm.
night and have a discussion on that, and it's going to be really interesting because I purposely haven't dived into that conversation with her so we can keep it really on the level as we go into it that night. We've touched on it just a little
Right.
bit, but we're going to
Right.
dive into that conversation that night. So that's going to be a long, fun day.
Yeah.
But just once
Wow.
again, once again, I want to say thank you. Judie, you're welcome back on the show anytime that you want to come back on. If
Thank you.
you or Tim or Nisha or anyone from your crew wants to come onto the show and discuss different topics and stuff, I would absolutely love to have you and your husband come on and do a show talking about your paranormal experiences and some of the paranormal stuff that you guys have worked into.
Oh man.
Because I know there are lots of
We
people
have
out there.
stories.
I know there are
Yes.
lots of people out there who would absolutely love to hear that, and I won't lie, I'd love to hear the stories too.
We have many.
Absolutely. Shoot, you guys probably have some from your time just down in New Orleans this past week.
Yes. No, I can tell you if we ever do that, I'll tell you what the Limp Mansion in St. Louis, Missouri. We had it all to ourselves one night. That'll be our number. That'll be the number one story that we tell.
I look forward to it, and like I said, if you guys want to ever come on and breach that topic, you let me know. We'll set the date down and we'll make it happen.
Cool beans.
All right. Well, everybody, I want to thank you all for
All
coming
right.
out tonight, and just once again, Judie, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Peace, everybody.
Goodbye.